going home the day after. The news showed that there was some flooding, but the news always shows the worst parts, and we have no electricity at home, so I cannot see the cameras and what's going on, what's happening in the apartment. We're on the first floor, so if it did flood, we got it. But there's no electricity. The day of when we evacuated, I took out 6 lobster tails from the freezer and cooked it, just in case the electricity goes out for longer than a day or a few hours. Then at least we ate the expensive stuff and it won't go bad. Also have some like duck breast and like fish, shrimp. But hopefully the freezer can keep it frozen until electricity comes back. That also means no Wi-Fi, so like won't be able to work. But hopefully they bring it back. I think they do it pretty fast. At least in my area. We're in Clearwater, and earlier the news was showing like the worst parts where it was flooded almost up to the stop signs. So they were rescuing people by boats. I looked up on the Snapchat map to see what people are posting in my area. There was no specific from my street, but I did find someone who posted a couple streets away, and they had no flooding, just some debris, branches from trees. So nothing crazy. But hopefully there's no flooding. We're on the way home, still have 2.5 hours of driving. Here everything is clear, a little puddles here and there, nothing too bad really. It looked like nothing happened here on this side. We're in Melbourne, above Miami. Yeah, it looks clear here, but I will update you on once we get closer to Tampa. But I have this prediction that after this hurricane, the real estate market is gonna drop a lot, and a lot of people are gonna sell their homes. I'm making this video for anyone who lives in Clearwater or St. Pete and evacuated and has not come home yet, because I also live here and I evacuated. And when I woke up after Milton, I tried to look up live updates, but everyone just kept reposting the same old things from Helene, and it was very frustrating. So to bring you a peace of mind, this is what it looks like less than 24 hours after the hurricane. This is the Campbell Bridge, which takes you from Tampa to Clearwater, and I think like some trees fell on the power lines and they cut off all the cords, the cables for the power line, but it is open. It was open pretty fast after the hurricane, and this is about 3 p.m. My apartment did not get flooded, but we did lose a little bit of fence, which is fine. Luckily nothing happened, and this is the route we're gonna take today. So we're gonna check out a little bit of here and there because it looks so clear that we thought it was safe to drive around. We were not in anyone's way. There were no first responders. There was only like traffic coordinators, but there was no like ambulances or anything, a cleaning crew. They're already gone. They came and left so fast. Most of the traffic lights were out. So we got an Amber Alert that we had to use 4-way stop, and this makes me so frustrated because a lot of people did not. Like this clip right here, you can see the cars on the other side, they did not stop. Right here, the red one, this gray one, and the silver one, you're supposed to stop and let the other people who came before you go, and so many people did not. So I'm gonna first show you. Ooh, there was 2 cars that we seen that had the tree fallen onto it, and then 1 house. That's pretty much it. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as the news predicted. We saw no flooding at all. I think Helene did a worse job, and I'm also going to show you some debris from Helene that we found. That was like the worst area in St. Pete. But other than that, it was mainly just trees falling. People lost some parts of their fence. So if you see your street and you're not home yet, just know that there was no flooding and your house is still standing. There were some people in my hotel. We evacuated to Melbourne, which is like a couple hours above Miami, and there was a lot of people from Clearwater and St. Pete. And there was this lady that is staying at the hotel for 2 more nights. So she has no idea what's going on in her house unless neighbors give her updates. But the streets got cleaned up pretty fast, and it was mostly debris. And there was also another man in the hotel that the day before the hurricane, he was an elderly man. He said that I have a house in St. Pete, and I just hope that when I get home, I'm gonna have a house. Otherwise, I'll be homeless. And my heart just broke. Like, that is so sad. But most likely nothing happened to his house, so I'm very happy and pleased about that. This is like the worst flooding that we've seen right here on this little area. On one of the houses, sometime later in the video, I think we seen markings of the flooding from Helene on the house walls. When we get to it, I'll let you know. I slowed down that part. But yeah, this was the worst flooding we've seen. This is in St. Pete, like very close to the beach. Very close. You see it's mostly just debris. And what they feared with this hurricane is that because not every street has been cleaned up after Helene, that Milton's wind might pick the garbage up and blew it into someone's window, someone's house, or even their car, which I don't think it's happened. And we're very lucky with that. I'm very happy with that. Fence. I mean, fence is way cheaper to fix than roof, especially because roofs are so expensive to fix these days. A few years ago, there was a scam after a hurricane, fraud scam, that a lot of people filed in claims to fix their roof, saying that it was from the hurricane, but it really wasn't. And that's when some insurance companies have left Florida because they just went bankrupt or couldn't afford to fix everyone's roof, and they just simply left. That happened a few years ago. If you Google it, you can find more details about it. But because of that scam, roofing insurance got very, very expensive. So this is the debris from Helene, which is still here. And I think Helene was worse than Milton. And I also saw a TikTok video just days after Helene that someone brought a Porsche Cayenne to a street like this that obviously flooded, and they just left it there. And the weird part was that the windows were down, so the inside was trash with like leaves and dirt. And obviously the windows were down throughout the whole hurricane. But the scam part is that this Porsche does not belong to anyone on the street or their friends. So someone brought the car to a street that was flooded, left it there, and because of frauds, scams like this, everyone else's car insurance may get raised because insurance companies are afraid that more people are going to commit scams like that. So it harms everyone. Just don't do it. Of course, people in their right mind would not do it, but yeah, that is a sad part, that there are people who will try to use other people's devastations for their own benefits. But anyways, so we are on the worst street And I do think this is all from Helene that did not get cleaned up, but everything else is pretty much cleaned up. And that's what people were worried, that all of this that we see here is gonna get blown away, and it did not. So we got very lucky with this one. And also, when I got home, I had no power. My power went out at around 8 p.m. the night of what is this called? Milton, 8 p.m. And ooh, look at that car. The garage port kind of collapsed on top of it. But I don't think there's any serious damage to the car, so that's good. So my power went out at 8 p.m. We got home at 3 p.m. and right now driving around, this is about like 4 or 5 p.m. And then we almost got home at 6 p.m. We're just like a mile away from home. Duke Energy sent a text that tomorrow afternoon they'll have an estimate to when the electricity is gonna come back. So we're like, okay, we're gonna be home through the night without power, and if when the estimate comes in and we still don't know when the power is going to be back, it might take a few days, then we can, oh, that was bad. There was only 2 streets that we seen that had a tree that was not cleaned up yet. So we thought if we oh, crazy, look at this one. There's a mattress in the middle and over here, but I think this was like the only home debris, like home trash from the Helene that was blown away, or maybe it fell off the truck, I don't know. But we thought that if we're not gonna have power for a few days because hot days are coming, that we can go to a hotel somewhere in Tampa that has electricity. But we got home and less than 20 minutes the power came back on. Wawa is out. Most of the traffic lights are out. I don't know now. This is Friday. I don't know if most of it is back on, but my power is back on. The whole apartment's power is back on. So like I mentioned earlier, in Florida, they take care of very fast. I think because they're used to it and they know what steps to take to work as efficiently as possible and fix everything as fast as possible. They're probably gonna leave signs for the last part and like the debris stuff. Over here, if you look to the right, there's a boat that went up, and that could be from now, but that could be from Helene because there's no other water damage that we can see. So I don't think there was a flood in this area at all. I mean, this is like 4 p.m. less than 24 hours after the storm. Where did the water go? They estimated the flooding to be like 3 feet tall, possible. Nothing. Luckily, we're so lucky. We're very thankful that nothing happened. Over here you see some, could be part of a roof or maybe a sign. Not sure if this is from now or from Helene because I was in Europe for a month before Helene, and I arrived to Miami actually the night of Helene, and in my hotel at Sheraton at the airport, the power was out. The hurricane was here, but Miami felt it, and the power was out for a majority of the day, and it came back at like 4 a.m. And then the next day I flew to California, so I saw nothing of Hurricane Helene aftermath. So, you know, some of these still might be from there, but I'm not sure. And then I came back about a week later, and I was home for a few days. And then this happened, and we evacuated 2 nights before Milton came because our bridges, we have 3 bridges, and they closed down before the hurricane, a couple hours before the hurricane. So there's no in and out except for first responders and officials. So we evacuated earlier to beat traffic. There was still traffic. But you know what? I'm glad we did because it's better to be safe than sorry. We just wanted to get the cars out because We have 2 cars and it's paid off, and it would have been easier to deal with the furniture that gets ruined from the flood than the cars, because if the cars get flooded and they're ruined, then we have to get brand new ones, and rather just evacuate and drive a few hours to get out and then not have to deal with the possible car damage at the end. So we're on this street, and this street got flooded from Helene because, like I mentioned, this is less than 24 hours after Milton. So if this got flooded right now, then where's the water? The road is dry. So this has to be from previous ones. You see that line marking right there on the house and on the fence? That had to be from Helene. It left like dirt and debris from the ground. And we also seen some people had hung up carpets to dry, so it could not be from this because the flood had not been able to leave that fast. Like, why would it have gone? The ground is pretty much dry. So yeah, this is what we have after Milton. I wasn't here after Helene, so I'm not sure if this is from now or from the previous one, but the most damage that we had from, wow, look at those roots. This is a monster tree. It's also so sad. Like, that tree was probably been growing for 80 years and now it's just gone. I think Milton did more damage to nature than to property. This could have been from Helene, not sure, but if it's from now and this is your house and you're seeing it, this is happening. There's a couple of signs over here, but honestly, not a lot of damage to like homes, which is the important part, right? Because furniture can be replaced. To replace furniture is cheaper than replacing your whole house. So, because once the flooding comes in, molding could happen, and I think you also have to change a carpet and all the wood things that could possibly grow mold, and yeah, it would just been so sad and devastating, but nothing really happened. So if you have not come home yet, don't worry too much. You might be missing some fence, but that's not as bad as getting your car flooded and ruined. And if you live in apartments, then probably nothing happened. I thought that if we don't get flooding, then might have something flown into the window and break some glass, but nothing happened. It's just nothing really happened besides like tree debris and branches on the ground, some signs blown off, some stop signs. It kind of looks like someone drove over it, but it was probably just the wind. But really, it's not as bad as predicted, which I'm so happy about because the news was insane, like scaring people, which I do kind of understand. Like, maybe it could have been worse, obviously, but it was just so scary, the news, and we watched it non-stop to see any live updates. It was showing like the rain and stuff, and the debris that we seen earlier in this video kept showing over and over again that they're worried that this is going to be picked up by the wind. It didn't. It's still there. That was no flooding, at least most of the area. Maybe some parts like near the beach, like the very first homes, maybe the ocean water came up and flooded some, but as you can see from this video, there has not been any water damage from this hurricane. mostly fences suffered. And there's the 2 cars that we've seen. Ooh, that's bad, that poor tree. Also so sad for all the wild animals. That street was closed down. Oh, this is a cemetery. We had a few trees fall in the cemetery. Hopefully, it didn't get too wet in the ground. We have some trash from signs. I think they lost a piece of their fence. It like fell over. Another big tree fell down. You see, there's not... Oh, there's a house right there. The tree fell on top of the house. Yeah, that's crazy. So I guess if you want to be extra cautious, if you do have a house in this area and there is a big old tree next to it, maybe think about cutting it down or trim it. Like earlier we see the tree fell on the red car. Also, parking next to a tree is probably not the best idea, because there's always that possibility of the tree falling. I mean, we've seen small trees, big trees, tall trees, skinny trees. It doesn't really matter how strong the tree is, it fell. Maybe there's a reason, maybe there is biological reason. Maybe the tree was like old or eaten out by termites, so it was weak. That's why it fell. But parking next to a tree during a time like this is not the smartest idea, and you probably shouldn't do it. I've seen from... There was another storm a few months ago, and there was a girl here in St. Pete, and she parked her car a few streets away that was higher up in the ground than her house, and the street, just the street, not her house, got flooded. Street right here. But she still had to go to work because she's a nurse and she's like needed. And she took a pedaling board and she pedaled to her car, so her car was saved. Oh, Publix, it was open and they had electricity. They also have electricity right here. Not sure if Publix is working because of they have like backup generators or just this area was just safe. First McDonald's sign missing. There's still no power on that street. Another tree. We're almost done with this video. I mean, I had more clips. That was like a total of this driving around was 2 hours. But I just want to like put in the worst areas, and these were the worst. Everything else just kind of looked like a regular day. This business taped up their glass, but nothing happened to it, thank God. And this is another McDonald's sign that has lost some parts of it. So I'm gonna end this video here because there really isn't much more to see. Maybe there are some areas that are worse, but I hope that if you live here and you recognize some areas, that you have a peace of mind that everything is okay. And the worst thing is probably that you may be missing some piece of your fence. But other than that, electricity is coming back pretty fast, and it's safe to come home if you haven't come home yet. Maybe just stay away from the beach for a few days until it gets cleaned up.